Hello, Isabella. Welcome to Functional Nutrition Radio. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really stoked to have you on and talk about all the conversations we're going to talk about because I don't think I've ever had anyone that we talked pots with, and I'm just so excited. This will be like so many new topics I haven't touched on yet. So,
Yeah.
introduce yourself. Who are you? What do you do? The basics.
My name is Izzy Birsinger, and I am in college right now. I'm in my senior year. I have one more semester left until I graduate, so I'm graduating in December. I'm a graphic design major, so I'm just into everything creative. I love art, I love music and dance and like all the things. Um, so yeah, I am from Houston
Yes.
and I love Jesus.
Yes. Amen.
And yeah. Um, I think that's pretty much it about me. It's
Cool.
pretty general. Yeah.
Cool. I love that. Where do you want to take your graphic design after you graduate? What do you want to do? Do your own thing, work for a
I'm
company?
I'm kind of down for whatever, honestly. I'm just like as long as
Nice.
I get to like create for a living, that sounds
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that. I will say as like an introvert, I'm like that. I don't know why that I was like, that job sounds great. Like just being in my own space and doing, not that I have that talent like other people do, but I'm just saying like if I did have that talent, I feel like it's not as, I think, people facing, which I love people too, but like my introvert
hmm
me was like, that sounds amazing.
Yeah. See, well, the funny thing is I actually really like being around people. So like I would
Oh,
love to like collaborate and like be a creative director potentially. And like, I don't know. I think that sounds really fun because
oh,
I'm the type of
okay.
person that I'm like alone for like 2 hours and I'm like, man, it's time to
Oh,
talk to people. Yeah.
oh my gosh, that's funny. I can get down talking to people all day, every day, but definitely like recharging. Yeah, I need like alone time.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I feel that. Okay, so tell us about like your health history. And I know that there's a lot from like endo to POTS to mold. I mean, we can start wherever and then we'll just let the conversation take us because you have a lot going on. But tell us about like where your health history started, what you struggled with, and just your experience through the healthcare system as you had one thing after another.
Yeah, so I can kind of start at the beginning of like my symptoms, I guess, which was around like junior year of high school. I started having pot symptoms. I just didn't know it yet. And I was just like, because I was in dance, I was doing like 10 hours a week. I was in like competitions and stuff. And I just realized that I was like falling behind my
Mm,
peers and like I was doing so good and I was getting better and better. And then all of a sudden I started like kind of going downhill and there was like skills that I wasn't able to do anymore. Like I was working on like my triple pirouette and then I was down to like a double or single again. I was like, what's happening? Am I just not good at this anymore? That was going to be like
yeah.
what I wanted to like major in for school. Like that was the path I was going towards. And then like in class, I would just have like random lightheadedness and stuff and would have to put my head down and my teachers would be like, "Are you okay?" And I'm just like, "I don't know. I guess I'm tired." Um, and so I ended up going to my mom was already seeing like a functional medicine doctor. And so I ended up going to her and I was telling her all this stuff and I was just like, there's nothing that she's going to be able to do with this because this is so random, like
Yeah.
dizziness and fatigue and like all this stuff. And she like listened to me. She's like, I think you probably have some form of POTS is what it sounds like. She's like, I guess we can test you, but like that really sounds a lot like it. And I was like, really? Because all of that sounds really random.
Okay.
Um, so I ended up being tested, and the interesting thing was that technically my heart rate wouldn't drop fast enough for it to be POT specifically. But because of the symptoms, she was like, oh, it's some form of dysautonomia, probably. But I
Okay.
don't know like what, but it's probably not specifically POTS. Um,
Okay.
because it's like in order to like diagnose it like officially, it has to be like whenever you do the tilt table test, it's like your blood pressure has to drop a certain amount in a certain amount of time, and mine didn't go fast enough. Um, but
Well,
I had all the other symptoms, so I figured that out, and luckily, like this is one of like the themes of the story that you can definitely tell is like God keeps providing and like helping me out. And I had a friend that has had POTS like since junior high at that point. She's like my best friend. And so having a best friend who has already experienced that, her mom also had it, her sister also had it. Like they were just a whole family
wow.
of people with POTS and like dysautonomia. And so they were really able to help me out. They were like, yeah, you definitely need to drink a lot of salt and like take it easy. And so they were kind of like the people that helped guide me through that.
Oh.
Um, just because it was kind of like, I don't know, it was a little weird. Like the doctor was able to help me figure out what it was, but it's like after that, there wasn't really anything. It was just like, well, you just need to be careful. You just need to drink extra salt and like make sure you're hydrated and like whatever. And so it's just like there's not really any cure for it.
And then was that
Um,
functional or conventional or both?
that that was functional, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's
Um,
really not too much on it in the sense of like
mhm,
what medications you can take, all that.
yeah. So that was kind of discouraging to me because I was like, well, if there's no cure for this, then my plans are ruined. And I was really upset. Um, and around that time was, going into my senior year, I was like, oh, I need to figure out what I'm going to do. And that's whenever COVID hit and my symptoms just got worse and worse. And because
No,
we were
you
all
were a COVID
isolated,
babe, a COVID senior.
I was, yeah,
Oh
they
my
kind of messed
gosh.
everything up.
That sucks.
But yeah, and so because of that, earlier I was saying like 2 hours, I need to talk to people, I'm whatever. So I
Yep.
got really depressed during that time just because I
Oh,
was like, I want to do all the senior things with my friends and like I just realized that my career choices were ruined and I'm feeling terrible
oh my
and
gosh.
like just all this stuff kind of piled on top of each other. Um, and right before that, I kind of skipped over this because I forgot about it somehow for a second. But my senior year, early senior year, like right before COVID happened, we found out that we had mold in our house.
Yeah.
So that's whenever that happened. And because all of us had been getting really sick. Like I had developed those symptoms. My mom had been like really sick for a long time. Sorry, let me turn do not disturb off my phone.
Oh, I
Um,
probably should put that on. Actually, I'm surprised I haven't pinged. Thanks for reminding me.
yeah. And so just a lot of us had had really weird symptoms. Like one of my brothers was just feeling fatigued all the time. Another one had like really bad sinus issues all the time. My mom was super fatigued, and just getting worse and worse every day. And no one could figure out what was wrong. And eventually they found like she did like a test and they found like the mold like in her. And so we got the house tested and they were like, yeah, the levels are really, really bad here. Like y'all should probably move out like as soon as you possibly can. And it was funny because I remember it was like my first day of like work. Like I started a new job, like just working at this place. And my mom was like, hey, I'm gonna come like, pick you up or whatever. I was like, okay. And so she did, and she was kind of like, so I think we're just gonna like move out of our house like today
Oh my
because
gosh.
they found mold in it. I was like, oh, okay. And we had some family friends who were just like, my parents hadn't even asked them about it. I don't even know how much they were told about the situation or anything, but they were like, hey, we've been praying and we just feel like God wants you to come stay with us for a while. And this was like the day before or something, because my mom was like, what the heck are we gonna do? Um, and they were
Wow.
like, we don't care how long you stay, just come stay. And like they also had previously gone through mold stuff.
Wow.
So they knew everything that we had to do and they helped us like wash the clothes that we brought. Because we basically just like it was really weird. Because usually like whenever you move out of a house, you have the whole like thing where you like pack everything up
Yeah.
and you like talk to the people who are buying it, like you do all the things. It was just for us, it was like one day I just went up to my room, grabbed my backpack, grabbed like a week's worth of clothes and just never came back. And
Oh my
everything
gosh.
was just left there.
Oh
And
my
so
gosh.
which is really weird.
And so did you guys like fix it, sell it, or move back in or
We just left it as is. Like we sold it. We put on like the thing. We were like, hey, there's mold in here and it's
okay.
bad, so we're moving out. But somebody was like, yeah, we don't care. And we're like, are you sure? They're like,
Oh,
yeah, we'll just take it and we'll like just do whatever we want with it. Like we'll buy it. And of course we had to sell it for a lot cheaper because of it. But someone
yeah.
still bought it, which we were like, okay, that's up to you, I guess. Like we
Good
told
luck.
you. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Good luck to you. I mean, yeah, some people are like, yeah, I'll take it for a cheaper price and I'll remediate, and do that. And they want to go through it. That's fine. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's so tough. That's so tough, especially because with mold too, it's like certain furniture is like really hard to take, sometimes not taking it. it's just a lot. It's a whole process.
Yeah, we did not take hardly, like we basically just like started from scratch, which was kind of crazy.
That is,
Um,
but kind of nice too. But sucks at the same
yeah,
time financially.
no,
That's like a
we
lot.
talk about that. We were like, we got rid of everything and we had just the essentials for a while, and like we're
Hmm.
still pretty like minimalist about that. And
Yeah.
um, but yeah, and so that in a way, like I mean, of course that was kind of weird, but I also felt really at peace about it because I was like, we all still have each other. Like
Yeah.
we have people taking care of us. I think that was a good lesson because I really learned how to like rely on other people's help because it was
Yeah.
like whenever you literally have nothing.
Yeah,
It's like,
for
what do?
sure.
You have to ask people for help. And
Yes. And did you have that connection of I know I never know how to pronounce it. Atomia? Not.
dysautonomia, yeah,
Oh my gosh, thank you. It's such a tongue tie for me.
I know.
Did you make that connection with mold yet? I know I brought it up on the call because that's like
Hmm.
pots, all that stuff is like red flag for me for mold. And then that's when you shared with me of like, actually, we just like had mold in the house. Did you make that connection beforehand or no?
No, I didn't. I didn't even think
Okay.
about that. So you saying that, I was like, oh, that's really interesting because you had said like whenever we did our
Yeah.
initial call that like a lot of patients like who have environmental toxin overload have pot symptoms and
Yeah.
stuff. And I was like, ooh, maybe that's why my like
Yeah.
the actual like number of like the tilt test wasn't there, but like the symptoms were there, if that makes
Yes.
sense.
Yes,
So, and I think you had also
for
mentioned,
sure.
because like I never had anxiety. Like I was not an anxious kid until we moved into that house when I was like 9 years old. And I remember telling you that too. And like, just
Yeah.
like maybe that could have been triggered by that. Like,
Yeah, and certain symptoms too happen at different times. And that's why I think it's really hard to
mhm,
like piece that puzzle together because sometimes it has to build up. So maybe your first symptom of being exposed is like anxiety. And it's
mhm,
so easy to brush off. It's probably like, I don't know, a big move or hormones or whatever. It's just so easy to be like,
mhm,
this is probably normal. And then so much time goes by that you don't connect the dots of like that first symptom to other symptoms that you were struggling with. How many years later? Less than like maybe 8 years later. And so it's just
mhm.
wild how sometimes our
Yeah.
bodies are like that. And it's why it's so hard to like piece all the puzzles together because it's like all connected, even though it doesn't feel connected. It feels very like different. And I know you had
Mhm.
tummy stuff. And then when did you get diagnosed with endo?
That was a whole thing because ever since I started my period, like whenever I was like 13 or whatever, like the first time it ever happened, like it was painful. Like I just always had pain.
Okay.
Um, And I went to doctors just kind of like sporadically through the years, and I would tell them like, hey, like it's pretty bad. And they were just like, oh, like, that's pretty normal. Like here's some birth control kind of thing.
I
And
love
I
that
like,
for us.
yeah. And my mom was like, no, like I know what that
I
does to
love
your
your mom.
body. You do not want that. Yeah, I know. She's so great. Um, and I was like getting so desperate that I wanted to. And she was like, obviously, like you can make your own choice. Like you're getting old enough by that point. I was in like my late teens. But she was like, I just like I've experienced it. I know other people who've experienced it. It just is not good. And you do not want
Yeah.
to like wreak havoc on your body like that. Um, because it's just like a band-aid for the issue.
Yeah. Yeah,
And like we
for
want to
sure.
get down to like what's actually happening. And so eventually it got so bad that I would be like down for a whole week, and the pain would be so bad that like Tylenol and ibuprofen, all that stuff wouldn't do anything.
Oh my gosh.
And so like I would just like be crying like for days until I couldn't cry anymore. I wouldn't want to eat anything. Like it was just really
Mm.
bad. And so my aunt worked at, again, it's all these connections with people. My aunt worked as like a scheduling, like kind of admin person for this endometriosis specialist in Houston, who's like one of the top like surgeons for endo. And so she was able to like help me get in to see him because it's really hard to get in to see him. And
Nice.
so I just like walked in there and was like, hey, like this is what's happening. And he actually like listened to me, which was a big deal. And he was like,
Yes.
yeah, that really sounds like endo. So like let's do an MRI and like let's get this rolling so we can like, because I'm pretty sure that that's what it is. And so we did the MRI. Yes, there was endo. And so he was like, okay, let's get you scheduled for surgery. And I did, it was August of 2021, I think is when I had surgery, or 2022. I don't, it's weird that I can't remember, but it might have been 2022.
It's
Um,
2022 because we started working at the end of 2022, and
yes, yeah,
then
yeah,
I
yeah.
remember you recently just had it. So
Hmm.
2022.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, you're right. It's funny
Yeah.
that I didn't remember that.
All the years like
But
just
yeah,
combined.
I know. Uh, but yeah, and so I did that, and the few months before, like while I was waiting to have surgery, were really rough because like I was at school and I would miss so much class and I would be in so much pain, and like they ended up prescribing me like really high level painkillers, like really high, and they
What?
didn't do anything. Like
Oh my
nothing did
gosh.
anything. Nothing helped. I would be in so much pain that I would literally start like hallucinating. Like it was so bad.
Oh
And
my
so
gosh.
I just was like, God, I really don't understand why this is happening, and I just need relief. Like, please help. And
Yeah.
I was just really worried about the surgery not working because I was like, if it's not working, if it's not going to work, then like my life's over. Like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to do anything. Like, I
Yeah.
ended up having to leave school early, and like I felt like a burden to my friends because they would have to like drive me to the ER, and like I
Mm.
would sleep on their couch because I was like, I don't want to be alone.
It's
Um,
so tough and so
yeah.
young too, like just going through that. And I will say that in our notes that it was August 2023 was when you had your
Mhm.
first not painful period. So you continue to have some
Yeah. So
painful
it's like,
cycles, but
yeah.
I want that timeline for people to register
Hmm.
because that was like a year from work you starting, and you're still working with us. So you've been with us a couple years. So that took like a
Yeah.
year for pain, like your first pain-free period, because everyone like tends to expect, okay, I'm making these changes and
Hmm.
like, am I going to feel better next month? And I'm like, sometimes it obviously depends on severity and like what you have going on. You had a lot going on, but
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes it takes a year. It's not an overnight like fix. So
Hmm.
I always felt like I need to like use that like timeline. Like, see, it takes this is a year. And then
Yeah.
I definitely had patients who only took 2 or 3 months, but sometimes it does take longer than what we would expect. But
Yeah. And even
A
like
for that.
after, yeah, like after the surgery, it was still better. Like even though it wasn't perfect, it wasn't like I was having to go to the ER and stuff.
Good.
Um,
Good.
and the surgery was successful. Like they were able to remove all the
Yay.
endometriosis. And so there's like, I think like a 30% chance or something, 15% chance that it could grow back in like
Yeah.
5 years. But so far, I think I've been good,
Yay.
which is
Hope to
good.
stay that way.
Yeah. Um, so it was right after that, like as I was kind of like coming back to like, okay, like this is actually over now and I can start like working on my health because I decided to take a semester off after my
Yeah.
surgery to heal, which wasn't the original plan, but my surgery got postponed by like 3 weeks and school started in 3 weeks after my surgery. And I was like, oh, I'll be fine. I no,
Yeah.
I basically had to like relearn how to walk again and stuff. And
Yeah.
I was
Which
like, yeah, there's no way I'm going back.
so
So,
wild. And then where did you find us? And like after your surgery, you were kind of in that healing
mhm.
stage. Where did you do you remember where you heard about us?
It was my mom. Can you believe that?
That's so funny. Not really though, because you can tell she was already like naturally minded. So I mean,
Yeah, that's it was yeah, kind of my sarcastic answer. Like, of course it was my mom.
yeah,
Like, yeah.
right.
And I think I don't know if she found you on social media or where it was, but it was something like that. And she was like, I really think that you should talk to them. Like, they really seem to know what they're doing. And like, she, I guess, had seen some reel that you posted or post about like mold stuff. And we had recently gone through that. She was like, I feel like she would know like what to do. And so we did that call with you. And
Okay.
like, my mom was like, yeah, she just seems to know what she's talking about. Like, let's, if you want to do it, let's do it. And
I love your
so,
mom. She's so funny. I know she was
yes.
so inquisitive too on the phone.
Hmm.
And I think it's so helpful too because yeah, you were just like in that healing stage.
Hmm.
And you returned to college. And so yeah, tell me how what that was that was hard because you didn't have a
Hmm.
kitchen, right? Because I
Yeah.
remember kind of working, or I remember me and Claire talking, or me and Allison. I know we were talking like she doesn't really have a kitchen, and we were helping you through like gut protocol, like mold
Hmm.
detoxification. So how was that?
Yeah. So well, I had that semester off is when I started like the gut protocol stuff.
Okay.
And so I did have like a pretty good kitchen and like good like grocery stores around and stuff. So I was able to do that. And that was pretty hard because, it's like 3 months of like
Yeah.
really minimalistic kind of like stripping down like the whole 30 thing, but honestly, probably even more strict
Harder. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
than
Yeah.
that. And like, it was like I had just gone through a lot. And so part of me was like, I really don't want to do this right now. Like,
Yeah.
I just want to, just chill out and not have to work on anything. But I was also like, this is like a good time in my life to do this.
Yeah.
So I did. And there was some hard times where I was like, I don't want to eat soup for the eighth time this week or like whatever. And, but honestly, I was just so driven to like heal, I think was
Yeah.
the main thing. I was just like, I'm so ready for all this to be behind me. And like, I think the surgery, even though it wasn't functional medicine, like it still proved to me that like there's things that work
For
and like
sure.
I can get better. Um, and like that was like the first step. And it's almost like I felt like I'd been given like a second chance at life in a way. And I was like, I want
Love
to
that.
make this count. And I was like, of course I can eat soup every day for a month. Like it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
that's what it takes, like it's fine. Like um, and so I don't remember how long that lasted. I think it lasted till like the end of the year probably because I
Yeah.
started in like October,
Yeah.
September-ish or something.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then after that, we started working on like the general detox stuff, which was a lot of like, prepping the supplements and getting the test
Yeah.
done and like starting to take all the detox stuff. But the thing that I really liked about how y'all did it is that, and I think one of the reasons why I was like convinced to actually do stuff with y'all was because there's like an order and a reason to everything. It's not just like, oh yeah,
Yes.
patients who usually feel fatigue, we give them the supplement because sometimes it helps. It's like we do this test so we
Yes.
can figure out what you need. And we're doing it in this order because in order to detox, you need to first heal your liver and your gut, and then we can
Yes.
move on. And like,
Yes. 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 For sure. It is. And that's it. Even functional can be really bad about that too. It's not just conventional, but it's like a protocol. And honestly, even some of the trainings and stuff that I've done, like
Mhm.
on the professional side, they kind of do sometimes teach that of like blood sugar dysregulation. Here's all the herbs you get. It's just like, I don't know. It's just
Mhm.
lazy to me. It's just like pharma, which has a time and a place for sure, but it's just like
Yeah.
here's a issue, here's a pill for that. And there's like really no deeper thinking on it.
Mhm.
And yeah, I find that a lot of the stuff can get overwhelming, especially when you have a lot going on and there's lots of layers. And like in reality, we don't need to do like every lab test in the beginning. Like that honestly makes no sense because as you improve different layers, it like feeds like fuels into each other layer and it's just, gets better and better. What was your
Mhm.
favorite lab test though? I'm curious.
Mm. I loved the environmental toxins one because I was like, oh,
Oh,
I'm not crazy.
yes.
Because like I saw the stuff and I was like, oh yeah, that's pretty bad. Um, because I think we were talking about it and it was like, okay, yeah, I do have some issues that I need to address. And like, um,
Hold on, now I'm
I
like pulling it
also,
up. I have to
yeah,
see. I don't
'cause
remember, but I was it really, really bad? Like, did you have a lot? I don't
I had a
look
lot,
at
like I had really high levels of mercury and stuff to the point where I think like the coach I was working with under y'all at the time was like, did you work on any like construction sites? Like with, I was like, no, I didn't, but that's interesting that you had mentioned that. Like, I don't even eat seafood, so not sure where that came from. Just like stuff like that, where I was like, okay,
Oh my
but
gosh.
that
Okay.
gives,
Yes. Yes. Holy
yeah,
crap, girl. Yes. Yeah, you did have quite a bit.
yeah.
Yes. And actually, now that I like look at it, yeah, mold. It was definitely a good blend of mold, heavy metals,
Mm.
environmental toxins. And now that I look back, I would say you're probably one of my highest of heavy metals that I've ever seen.
Oh
Like with the
wow.
amount of like whether it was like higher or moderate, like usually people have one or two, but you had like a solid like 10 plus.
Yeah.
But
Don't know
yeah,
where
what are
that
you
came
doing? What
from.
are you doing?
Yeah. Don't know where that came from, but hey, I that's like what I just finished. Like I just finished the carboxy recently.
Nice.
So yeah.
And and I know Claire, I remember telling me that like you felt better being on
Yeah.
detoxification supplements.
Yeah. It was kind of funny because I don't know, I really liked yeah, I felt like I was physically getting better on those. I remember even like the first few days that I started taking them, like because we had the first round of like
Mhm.
a bunch of different supplements, and then I did the carboxy. Like the first round of stuff, I just remember like walking outside like the first few days after I took it, and I was like, I feel like I can even just like see some things more clearly, which like sounds weird, but I was like, it almost is like
Whoa,
I just got like a new prescription for my glasses. Like I don't even
that's
know.
okay. That's so cool. Okay, that's so
Yeah.
cool. I haven't heard of that before, and I took it before for mold for me.
Hmm.
And I play around with different ones too. Like I'm always trying like different like supplements and stuff like that.
Hmm.
That is a good one. There's other great ones that we work with as well. But that is a good one. And let's see, hold on. There is Oh, and I also want to mention too, I did write this down because I wanted
Hmm.
to let everyone know is that you were already avoiding gluten and dairy because
Yeah.
before working with us, and actually you did it for like 4 years, I wrote down. So
Hmm.
I feel like I just have to say that as well because most people are like, are you just going to tell me to avoid gluten and dairy? And that's kind of it. And has that been your experience? Like what made you avoid gluten and dairy? Was it someone, a practitioner that told you, or is it like, okay, I'm just going to take these out because I feel like they're not the best?
Can you guess? Is
Your
my
mom.
mom. Yeah.
Okay, where's your mom here?
She she had been actually doing that for a while because of
Okay.
some of my brother's health issues when he was younger. This was back in like 2005, like whenever it was not
Okay.
common. And so she had met with like some other moms with like children who had similar issues to him.
Okay.
And I don't want to like share his issues because like that's his
Yeah,
thing to
yeah, yeah.
share. But um and they were like, yeah, this like really helped our kids whenever we did this. And so she did that for him and like it really, really helped him. It helped him so much. And so she was like, oh wow, like that was kind of her moment of like, wow, like what we eat does matter.
Nice.
um, and so
Nice.
she ended up doing it later on because like she has like Hashimoto's and stuff. And that was helpful for her. And so whenever I was in like ninth grade, I think she was like, hey, like if you want to join us in doing this, like I think it might benefit you, even though like my health was fine at the time, just because like a
Yeah.
lot of stuff like runs in our family, like celiac runs on my dad's side, and my mom like thyroid issues runs on her side. And so it's just
Yeah.
kind of like this might be a good like preventative measure. And I was like, I'll do it. Like
Yeah.
half of the family's already doing it. Like I'll just join. So
Yeah. Yeah. I'm about to say, I'm sure like your mom's already cooking that way anyways. So it's just like,
yeah.
why not? I'll do it. But yeah, a lot of people just think that like restriction is like that's what you do. And it does help alleviate some symptoms, but there's no
Hmm.
like I mean, I guess there's a healing component in the sense of it's reducing inflammation, but that's pretty much where people stop. So a lot of people that see naturopathic doctors or other dietitians will be like, yeah, I don't eat gluten and dairy. What else can you do for me? And I'm like, whoa, that is like one thing, like one tiny part of the puzzle.
Yeah.
Have you been able to bring it back in at all, like a little bit of dairy or whatnot, or no?
Yeah, I'll eat dairy every once in a while at this point, and like it's
Nice.
fine. Like,
Yeah.
but I think gluten for like I haven't really tried, but honestly, it's like I just don't have a want to bring it back. I don't
Yeah.
really miss it. It's pretty easy. Like it's because I've been doing it for like almost 7 years at this point, where it's become a lifestyle habit that I'm
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like I don't know.
Why not?
So I
Yeah.
don't really have much of a desire to. And I have like friends that are starting to do it like for their health. And so I feel like it's
Nice.
kind of helpful for them to like have somebody to like,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's so true. And all the stuff that, especially because you guys are young and you're not, in
Hmm.
your like sourdough girl era stage or like, momming stage yet.
Hmm.
All the stuff in the stores are just so processed and so just, it's
Yeah.
just not ideal. And so if someone wanted to use like an einkorn wheat or something, a high quality wheat, make it at
Hmm.
home, not all the preservatives, even like freshly milled, like really, really fresh. And I feel like some people can do that and they just feel fine. But
Hmm.
at y'all's age. Like it's just like, is it at the store? If it's not at the store, I'm not going to do it. So yeah, you might as
Yeah.
well just try to be gluten free because there's not that many good options out there, and everything is pretty. Even if it's like organic wheat, it's still like a strain of wheat that has been so hybridized and changed. It's just not the same anymore. So I'm
Hmm.
team like if you can't make it at home, then honestly I'll pass, and I'll usually like opt
Yeah.
gluten free for the most part.
Yeah. And there's like
Um,
things that I've been able to like add back in, like from dieting. Like for a while, it's like my body just did not tolerate sugar. Like I would eat it
I
and
remember
like,
that
yeah,
you were
my
like 15
shoulders would
grams
hurt.
or milligrams,
Yeah,
no grams.
grams. Yeah, I was like, I cannot eat more than this. And like eventually I just completely cut it out for like a year because I just couldn't tolerate it. And now I'm able to like, I mean, I don't go crazy, but I'm able to like eat some of it. So it's not
Right.
like not everything's a forever thing.
Yeah, exactly. And then, yeah, how was that though? I know, so you were doing the really therapeutic part with preschool and then you went back to school. And so what were some of your challenges, but you found to make it work?
So I did have a kitchen because I
Oh,
had like
okay.
an apartment. Yeah. I think the main
Nice.
challenging thing that I had to talk to people about was just like I'm in a small college town, and so like the options aren't, it's not like I have a Whole Foods here or something.
Oh, sad
Um,
day.
yeah, I know. But and you know, it's also like I'm working on a college student budget. Like it's not
Yeah.
like I make a ton of money, and
Yeah.
I am also on a college student schedule. And
Yeah.
so like I was still on the mold detox diet whenever I got back, which honestly compared to the
The gut protocol.
gut one, I was like, Psh, this is a piece of cake. Like
Yes,
I
I
just
know. After you do
so
that, you're like, I can do anything. Truly.
yeah. And so I did that for a semester. And so I did have to take out like a lot of time to like make things homemade. And it just, but again, it's like after a while, even though it's hard at first, it just becomes a lifestyle habit.
Yeah.
And like once it becomes a lifestyle habit, like sure, you're going to have days where it's like, I don't feel like it, but it just becomes so normal.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
I totally agree.
yeah.
And before we wrap up, I know that too, we were Claire and you were talking about like brain rewiring, which is so
Hmm.
important for people who have struggled with like illness and symptoms for so long because it almost becomes, in a sense, like a part of you, or we believe that it's a part of us. So tell us your journey with that. Like, what has been so helpful? What are some habits that you've kind of input in your day to help with brain retraining?
Hmm. I'm still pretty new to it. I started with like one program that was called DNRS, not trying to like hate on them. I just didn't really work for me very
Okay.
well. I started this other program that's by this lady named Sarah Jackson,
Okay.
and she like really like does it. It's like not just your head. It's like she incorporates like body stuff and spiritual stuff and like mind stuff, like everything. And
Mm.
so I just try to do like a lot of it is like some like mindset things and like using your imagination and like your mind is like for good things and like trying to switch over to not like using that as like a bed for like anxiety and like
Yeah.
really changing your mindset being like, you know what, like I am healthy, like I'm not perfect but I'm healing
Yeah.
and like I'm able to walk today and I'm able to do these things and
Yeah.
like there's a lot of just like things that you can do to like I try to like keep my nervous system like safe and like let it know that it's safe.
Yeah.
Just by like trying to like, you know, do grounding and like I
Yeah.
can't go super into like all because there's like a lot of like particular little
Little things.
exercises you can do, but um and just trying to like avoid things that I know aren't good for me right now. Like I do not watch like super intense movies or shows just because I'm like I am in my healing stage and I don't need to, you know.
Yes. Yes.
So
As I come off like a mystery book that literally I was feeling anxiety like rise in me as I
yeah.
was reading it. And this is why I read romance books, y'all, because it's just like love story and love and happiness. And this mystery, like murder, was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, this is why I don't read these often. It
Yeah.
was so good. It was so good. But I literally was like, I could feel my heart rate like rising. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is why I don't read it.
Yeah. But
So
it is helpful and I think I would encourage like people who are interested to try it out because I think I've noticed that there are symptoms that are tied to that and like
yeah.
I've been able to that's like part of healing. Yeah.
So much. The brain is so powerful and it actually kind of creeps me out because whenever I may have like, I don't know, a negative thought come through, I'm
Mhm.
just like, no, I cannot think about that because I'm like, just our brain is so powerful. It's just so
Yeah.
powerful. And it's sometimes, well, no, it's in our control, but there's certain things that we, yeah, have to retrain and it's natural to come through, especially if we've
Mhm.
always thought a certain way for so long. It's just hard to break and like rewire those like neural pathways. But it is such an important part of healing, not even for chronic illness, but especially for chronic illness. I feel like that's like should be mandatory, but even for people with
Mhm.
short term stuff that's going on. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that you are incorporating some of that and you honestly can just see the importance of it because some people will be
Mhm.
like, that won't help me. Like that won't change how I feel. I'm like, you'd be
Mhm.
surprised. It actually does.
Yeah. And again, it's like what you were saying earlier, like this is a theme, it just like takes time. Like it's not an
Yeah.
immediate, like in
Yeah.
our, you know, consumer, like quick fix
Amazon Prime.
society. Yeah.
Now,
Like we're
please.
not used to it, but yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Izzy, for joining us and deep diving into your health history. It's so encouraging. I hope it's encouraging to
Mhm.
people to see that even in the darkest times when you just feel like this
Mhm.
sucks and I feel like I don't see the light and why is this happening to me? There's absolutely a light at the end of the tunnel, even though we can't see it. So thank you for sharing your journey with us.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for helping me. And like, I couldn't have done this without y'all. And it
Oh,
makes me so happy that, y'all really do care. Like, I could tell that y'all really care.
oh,
So,
well, we love you.
yeah. And I'm glad I can play pickleball again and,
Yes, yes,
be back in college and like do art things. And, like, I
yeah.
just have a lot of hope. And yeah, I'm really thankful. So.
Yay, awesome.